If I look at my life from an external perspective, it appears that I am finally getting it together a little bit, right? I have a career path that is looking pretty good, has long term potential. This is a good setup for me. I am doing some hobbies, I'm taking care of my health, I'm lifting, I'm cooking more. There's all sorts of stuff that's going well. From an objective, external perspective, it appears that I am more successful than I have been in probably the last decade, that I'm really starting to figure it out. And yet, at the same time, there is something that is bothering me, and it has to do with game development. It has to do with creativity. It has to do with making things and expressing myself. I am failing at one of the things that is most important to me. I am not developing games. I am not writing anything. I'm not honing my art skills. I'm not working towards the very long term goals that are the entire reason why I started stabilizing the rest of my life. I wanted to make room to have just a little bit of time to work on my hobbies, just a little bit of time to work towards things that won't pay off in 5 years, but will pay off in 20 years. Things that I can get good at and get fulfillment out of. And yet, I'm not using my spare time for those things. And today I want to talk about that. It's a little bit of a self indulgent episode, but I feel like I also want to get you on this page with me because I think it's not I haven't been completely transparent with the extent to which I just haven't been working on game development and haven't been playing games and just haven't been moving forward in these ways that I want to. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about games. We're going to talk development. And hopefully we'll find some kind of inspiring twist or turn at the end of this episode. I'm Chris. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. And as always, thank you for joining me. It's very rare for me to take a break from gaming, and yet somehow I haven't gamed for the last month and a half, maybe 2 months. I mean, I did play Suddenly Bird, which Fev is working on, but that was more of a beta testing situation. And by the way, check that game out. He's going to release it on the play date. I think that is coming up very soon. Congratulations to Fev. The game looks amazing. I love the art style of these playdate games. It's so cool to me. I like the retro aesthetic. It's very charming. That console is cool. If you've never heard of the Playdate, look into it. And it's also a nice little opportunity for development. It's a challenge that I don't want to take on personally, but it's definitely worth checking out. Fev Games, FEV Games. Fev is working on that game called Suddenly Bird. And if that doesn't interest you, the Playdate console, I think it's one word. But anyway, I digress. That's one of the things that I played. And then I played a tiny bit of Smash Bros with my friends the other day. And I don't really get into Smash anymore. I'm not very good at it. I just kind of jump in and get a couple kills, have a laugh. That's that, right? Usually place last in whatever group of people. Somehow I won one round, which never happens. I did do the least damage. I was just stealing kills. But the point I was getting to, the whole conversation here is it's very rare for me to take a break from gaming. I took a big old break from gaming during college so I could focus on my studies, and I was talking with people and hanging out and being so social at that time that it didn't really feel like I was taking a break from gaming. It just felt like I was just being social, and then I never really bothered playing games. I was just, oh yeah, I guess I could play a game, whatever, and then I just didn't. There was a summer semester where I played some games, I think, because not everybody was around, so I wasn't being super social all the time. So, that's one instance. Otherwise, I've been doing a lot of gaming, basically my whole life. It's weird for me anytime that I'm not gaming regularly, anytime that I'm not playing a little bit, if not every day, every other day, at least, most days out of the week, I'll be playing a game. And right now I'm not doing that, which is, I guess, fine. How weird okay, hear me out. I know this is going to sound odd. I know this is going to sound a little bit lame, maybe, but it feels weird to me not having games as a consistent part of my routine. It feels strange to me. I'm going through my day and the time is going by and I'm doing all the things I need to do, and somehow I'm filling the time that would normally be filled by playing games. And it's not like I'm watching a ton of YouTube or watching a ton of shows or whatever. I did have an anime binge today. I watched Solo Leveling. This was a very notable thing, me just full binging an anime. I haven't done that in forever. Solo Leveling is good. It is it is pure power fantasy and I love it. I recommend it. If you're into that at all, I enjoyed it a lot. There's 2 seasons out right now. I feel like you can finish the second season and go, yeah, I understand the show is not done, but that's a satisfying enough conclusion for me, which is kind of where I'm at. So anyway, I did all that, but every other weekend I've had something going on. Every other weekday I've had something going on. I work out, I do my meal prep, I go to bed, I fill the time somehow, and it seems odd to me to not enter this like time vacuum of playing games for however many hours and stepping away from it. And it's nice. I like it. It's good. But then I look at it and I go, yeah, but I like games too. And I'm neglecting that thing that I love. That's been a part of my life forever. Like I want to play this game, that game, whatever. I still want to experience these things, and it's hard to find the time to, and I'm worried that if I try to find the time to, I'm going to lose so much value to the game. Depending on the game, I'm going to lose so much of my day-to-day time just absorbed in this game. Like my chance to develop games, the time I could use to work on art, the time I could use to work on music, the time I could use to write and work on all of these beautiful things that I enjoy doing. However, I haven't been doing those things either. And that's the next big thing that we're going to talk about. But let's finish up this topic first. I feel like not playing games is not something that should be causing inner conflict. I don't think that taking a break from playing games ought to be something where I go, oh my God, what's going on? It should just go, oh yeah, I'm just not playing games for a while. But I've developed a game. I make this podcast about games. I'm involved in some game communities. I think about games constantly. I talk about games constantly. And not doing that is weird. It is mildly confusing on some level. Not like to the point of being a whole identity crisis level thing, but just to the point of just having this nagging feeling in the back of my head that's like, but what about, why aren't we thinking about Warcraft 3? Why aren't we pondering some game design? Why am I disconnected from this part of myself? And it's not that the games are a part of me, it's that they're a connection to a way of thinking and a interest in developing things, and like almost like there's almost a way of thinking that comes with it that I feel like I'm getting disconnected from, and I feel like that is simultaneously helpful because it was such an incredibly strong just default mode for me, and a little sad. I want to still be connected to that way of thinking. I want to still be kind of gamifying things and having video game analogies all over the place. And now that I've reached this like 1.5 month marker, I feel like I'm getting disconnected from a culture that is core to me. So maybe it is like a very mild identity thing. I don't know. But it's interesting. And I wonder if any of you have had an experience like this where you're gaming for however long and then you take a break from it and it feels like a slight paradigm shift, especially if you're involved in development or if you've just been playing for your whole life. There's something odd about it. I'm not quite sure that I can put my finger on it, but you know what's going to help is talking about how it ties into all of my creative pursuits, because I think that's where the real juice is here. More than not gaming, that I'm kind of fine with. Not playing games, whatever. Not creating things, I don't know, man. I kind of need to create things. This is where I feel like I'm failing myself a little bit. And this is an odd version of failure because I'm doing well. A lot of stuff is going very well for me right now. I'm feeling quite hopeful about my future. I feel like I'm setting myself up for long-term success. And I'm very frustrated by the lack of creative pursuits in my life. I love exploring creative stuff. I like making up weird ideas. I tried to write a novel once as a kid. I did write a first draft of a novel later on. I've created an entire video game. I made an album. I've always composed. I've always played around with making things, with art, with all of these things. And I love them so much. And they're so important to me. And right now, I feel like I'm just not in touch with that side of me. And it's hard for me to put into words the impact that that has because it is not some big dramatic thing. There's not this like overwhelming, I have to do this, it's, oh, everything is awful, whatever, because there's sort of an avoidance of creativity that's naturally there. No, it's a feeling like there's something building up inside of me that I have to deal with. It's like I have to make something, but at the same time I'm going, well, it's kind of hard to make stuff and whatever. There's this battle between I'm very busy. I can't make stuff right now. That takes so much effort and we're very preoccupied and you're building things. That kind of counts as making things, and it is making things, sure. And then I'm so distracted with day-to-day life, with getting groceries, with figuring out this thing, that thing, logistics, going to my buddy's wedding, figuring out all of this stuff for work, working on this application. I'm caught up in logistics, and I can just tell myself, oh, well, you're so busy with all of that stuff, which, by the way, doesn't even take that much time. It just takes some mental space. I can tell myself, oh, you're so busy with all that stuff, and we're thinking about all that stuff, and then I just don't think about creating things. I just don't think about my game. I'm just not focused on this thing that I love. It doesn't even cross my mind. If it never crosses my mind, then I kind of don't have time to miss it. And I'm not saying that I don't miss it, I'm saying that I don't have time. And then a moment like today comes along when I have time. And then it's a little rougher. Then I go, oh man, I miss it, but I can't get myself to start working on it right now because I'm so far behind on it and I don't want to confront it and so on and so on. So I'm going to spend the whole day watching an entire season of Solo Leveling. I'm going to do whatever I can to not think about the creative projects that I'm neglecting right now. This is how I'm failing myself. I'm making little excuses to not work on my creative projects. I'm not confronting the demon that is the scary void of creativity. I'm not going in there and going, let's see what we can pull out. Let's see what we can find. Let's see what we can discover and explore and just learn. And I'm making 1,000,001 totally valid sounding excuses to not do a thing that I love doing because I don't want to do it right now because it takes a lot of courage and it's kind of scary. And that is how I'm failing myself. And the whole reason I'm sharing this in this episode is because it feels important. It feels like an important part of this process. It seems substantial as far as how this podcast is going to say, hey, I have not been gaming. I have not been developing. And I desperately want to keep developing. And part of the reason why I do this podcast is so that I stay connected to development, so that I have this weekly commitment to remind me, to make me feel a little bit embarrassed, to make me feel a little uncomfortable with the fact that I haven't been creating things. And I don't want it to be like some horrific, crippling shame thing. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for a situation where I can hold myself accountable. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm holding myself accountable to you, and I am telling you I have not been creating things, and I want to be creating things. I need to be creating things. And at the same time, I don't know when I'm going to be consistently making things again, but I am keeping that idea in my head. I am keeping that concept alive. I am making sure that I don't completely lose sight of this really important part of my life. Because, and this is going to seem like an odd angle, making a game, making my first game, and even writing a novel before that, I mean, a rough draft for a novel, working on all of these creative projects is what gave me the comfort to go, okay, now I'll go work on this steady career path. Once I got to a point where I'd made a game, where I'd done some Twitch streaming, where I'd done this podcast, where I'd gone out on my own and worked on some stuff and become really willing to take big risks and just go, I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this because I want to, because it's fun, because I want to connect with people, because community is cool. We're taking these wild swings. I connected to the things that I loved doing, and then I went, I need a way to support the things that I love doing. This Twitch stream thing, it's not going to support everything I'm working on. The podcast, it's not going to support everything I'm working on. The game release, we're not going to get there in time. I need a career. I need a steady thing to support all of this. And then I need to put this stuff into the wee hours. I need to stick it into a corner. I need to just work on it when I can. I need to do it because I love it. And I need to commit to a career that can make sure that I last the whole way through. And it gave me the courage to pursue a career. And now that I'm pursuing a career, there's this trap. There's this thing where I go, well, all of my needs are taken care of through this career, so maybe I don't need to put in the effort of having my side hobby. Maybe I don't need to put in the effort of making a cool game and seeing how many people like it and seeing what I can create out of it and connecting with other people in this community. Maybe I don't need to put in the effort of chasing the things that I love in life because, well, my basic needs are met and maybe that's just good enough. But I don't think that that is good enough for me. I think that what will happen is that I will set up a great career and I'll keep doing the career and it will be great and fine and wonderful. And then one day, 10, 20 years down the road, I'll go, whatever happened to all of that? And I'll have not developed the skills for 20 years. And I'll get that urge and I'll be like, oh, I want to create this stuff. And I don't know how I'll react to it at that point. Whereas if I've just been consistently making things, consistently loving what I'm doing for an hour, 2 hours, just wherever I can every week for a little bit, then whenever I get to that point where I would have gone, whatever happened to that, instead I'm going to be at a point where I go, oh man, I've released like 3 games on top of my career. That's crazy. Tiny little games. But I'll be able to look at it and I'll go, man, I'm so glad that I'm still making stuff. Look at all these cool people that I've met. Look at this community that I've built. Look at everybody that I've connected to. because of the fact that I want to make stuff in the spare hours. And I feel like it's got to be possible. At the moment, I'm tricking myself into thinking that I have a valid excuse. I'm tricking myself into saying, you just don't have any time for it at all, whatsoever. And it's not true. I have time for it. I may not have energy for it, and I may need to do things to up my energy levels. That could be the case. But there is time. There's an hour. There's an hour a day. Maybe an hour every other day, but there's an hour that I could grab onto and put into some game development. There's just enough space for me to keep pursuing this thing that I love. And it's not like I have to sacrifice everything. I just have to go, oh, now's a good time. And it makes me second guess myself, if I can be way too open here and way too honest. It makes me second guess myself. It makes me go, do I really love this? Am I really committed to game development? Which I don't think is even a fair question, but if I really loved it, wouldn't I be trying to spend time with it every chance that I get? And it's like, well, maybe. Or maybe you're still adapting to this new schedule. Maybe you're working through all this other stuff, but maybe those are just excuses. Am I committed? Does it matter if I'm committed? I just said that's an unfair question. See how I cycle back and try to ask the unfair question again, even after I acknowledge that it's not fair? Committed isn't the thing. Am I interested? Do I still want to do this? Yes. I absolutely am still interested in game development. I absolutely still want to work on pixel art and telling a crazy story that I have in my head and all of these fantastic things that I want to do and communicate, and I want to connect with everybody and all of this good stuff. But I've just got to design my life correctly so that I can both have a successful career and spend a little time on game development. I've just got to put systems in place for when I get home, put systems in place, routines in place to make sure that I'm in a good spot to explore not just the career and not just the creativity, but both. Because I need both. I need both of these things. If I don't have my long-term creative hobbies and pursuits, then I reach a point in any career where I go, why am I doing this? I need to do my other creative stuff. And if I don't do the creative stuff, it puts the career at risk. But if I don't do the career, I'll never be able to support the creative stuff. So I have to play the difficult game of finding a balance. I cannot fall into this trap of believing that I don't need to create stuff. I need to create stuff. At least that's how it's always been. Historically, I've always needed to be working on some creative thing. Maybe it's different now. I'm betting on history. I'm betting on the idea that if I'm not consistently creating stuff, there's just going to come a day where I go, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Oh my God, I've lost sight of creating things. And then a whole disaster, catastrophe, whatever. I need to find that space. I need to make that space. Anyway, that's how I've been failing myself. I haven't found that little bit of balance. And I'm sorry for having such a self-indulgent episode and just talking about this thing, but it's very important to me, and it was the only thing I could think to talk about today. It was so all-consuming in my mind, and genuinely, I may have made it sound like it came out cleanly or like it was comfortable to talk about. It's so uncomfortable to talk about. I don't like being open about this. It is a little too much. It feels like I'm oversharing, and maybe I am, but I think it's valuable for anybody else who's struggling with these things to listen to it and go, oh, I'm not the only one having difficulty balancing my creativity, and somebody out there's probably got the same cycle of like career, creative stuff, bouncing around, and maybe they'll have ideas on how it works for them. I don't know. But, sometimes just sharing a creative struggle in and of itself, or a life struggle in and of itself, lightens the load, not just for me, but for anybody else who can relate to it. So that's why I'm having this incredibly uncomfortable moment of sharing. Let's wrap this thing up, Let's get out of here. Here's a weird question for this week. What is it that you love about creating things? If you create things, maybe you're just here to listen to the game portion of the podcast. But if you love creating things, what is it that you love about creating things? Is it communicating something? Is it the surprise of finding out what it is that you're actually creating? That's always interesting to me. You start working on it, and at the end of it, you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought I was making, but here it is. What is it about that process? For me, the surprise is really nice. I think the joy of just completing, it's not the completing, it's exploring my own mind, I think. If you can't tell from this podcast or from this episode, I like figuring out how my own mind works. I like learning things about myself. I like trying to decipher my own inner workings, which is kind of bad sometimes, but that's part of what I love about creating things. I can take a little portion of myself and put it into a project and look at it and go, haha, that's an interesting little part of me that I can now separate from myself and turn into a little caricature, right? That's fascinating. That's exciting to me. I can take pieces of my history and put them into something that I'm creating and sort of separate it from myself and process it in a weird way. And I want to do that in game development. I haven't had the chance yet. I mean, there were a couple things in Soot that were like kind of vaguely metaphorical for my own life, but not really in any way that an audience could get. It just felt like it to me while I was making it. And then, yeah, I want to explore that in game development a little bit more, telling a story that has pieces of myself tucked away in it. Anyway, that's everything that I have for today. Thank you for listening to this particularly odd episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming by. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. I know I'm going to try to take my own advice there and actually make some stuff this week. I think it's worth it. All right, that's all for now. Bye-bye.